Hi, my name is Manikiran. Today I am going to explain the code implementation of the attendance monitoring system using face recognition. So firstly we have to collect the data set. That means images of the students or a person to train the model. So for that first we have to collect the data set. For collecting the data set, so we are using this program that is face detection cam1. So in this program, firstly we have to import the CV2. So what is CV2? CV2 is the module of OpenCV. So the question arises in mind: what is OpenCV? So OpenCV is an open source computer vision and machine learning library that provide tools for processing images and videos. So it is an open source computer vision and machine learning library which is available in the Python. So we are importing the CV2 module, and then also we are importing the random library function library. So first thing, we have to access the camera of the laptop or a desktop. So in order to accessing the camera, we are using the video capture function that is present in the CV2 library. So for that class, we are creating an object. So we have to pass the parameter that is 0. So if in case we have, if we use the if we use inbuilt webcam, so we have to pass the parameter 0. In other case, if we use the additional web camera, so for that we have to pass the parameter 1. So next, we have to detect the face in the uh, camera, so captured image. So for that we are using the hair cascade frontal face default XML file, that is the algorithm, frontal face algorithm. So cascade classifier is the class. It includes the algorithm, that is face detection algorithm. So for that cascade classifier we are creating an object. So next so we want to capture the image in the video format. That means if the camera is running, from that we have to save the image of the particular person. So for that we are using the while sorry. So first thing we have to reading the face through camera. For that cam.read. Cam is the object we created for the video capture class. So from that we are calling the read function. It will captures the or read the faces or images through camera. That will store in the my file variable. Flag it stores the if the image captured properly or not. If not, it stores the false value. If it is, it stores the true value. So once it captures the images, it has to be converted to gray color because uh, uh, bef- uh, because cascade classifier, it imports only, it receives only gray color images. That means black and white images. So in order to that we have to convert the color image to gray color. For that we are using the cvt color function. So we are passing our file, that means captured image, and also we are converting that BGR to gray color, that is stored in the gray variable. So next thing we have to extract the features, facial features, that breadth, width, and height. So cascade.detect multiscale. Detect multiscale is the function in the cascade classifier, so it will detect the face in the image and gives the values to the faces variable. So what are all the values that will gives is x and y, that is the coordinate where the face is start, and width of the face and height of the face. These four values will gives the gives detect multiscale function. So we are passing the gray image, converted image, and one point, that is the scale factor. That means how much point it has to be searched or detect. So in the in front of the camera there is the number of faces. So it detects the multiple faces. So from that we have to we have to take one image, one face that is in front of the camera who is sitting. Her or that person image has to be detect, face has to be detect. So for that, if length of faces is greater than 0, so there is a suppose assume that there is a 5 members in front of the camera. 5 members features are stored in the faces variable. So among that, first person image face details as stored in the face variable. So in the face, there is four values. Detect multiscale. It returns the four values that is stored in the face. So now displaying the rectangle box on the face. So on the camera, visually displaying the video. On that, we have to put a rectangle box on the faces. For that, there is a function called rectangle. For that, we have to pass the file, our file, and the first point is the coordinate where the face started, and width of the face and height of the face. Next, we have to specify the color and the width of the rectangle box. Now, that means uh, width width of the box line. So next we are showing that I am show function, it displays the output. So it is the title of the window. This is our captured image. So wait key. Wait key is used to active the window on the screen. Active the window on the screen until we press the key, any key. If we press the Q button, it exits from the loop and closes the execution. So if we press the S, it will save to the one folder. so so we are not storing or saving the entire image. So only we are storing the face only. So for that we are cropping the image for face only. So my file, that is we are specifying the y, that is y plus x, that is the height of the face, and x will be the width of the face. So we are resizing, that means standard format. All the images has to be in the standard format. So for that reason we are resizing the cropped image to 300 pixels. For resizing we are using the resize function and passing the uh, a cropped image and the pixels what we want. Next, random.randint. So our images has to be stored in the dataset. with the same name, but the ending number has to be different. So for that reason, we are using the random class. So we are specifying the path of the dataset folder. So dot it specifies this at the current directory. There is a folder called 0, and in that folder, my face is the file name, and the number we are passing, that is random number dot .dbj format. So I am right function will store this or save this image on that specified path. So lastly, we are releasing the camera to the OS. So now the data set is collected. So here, look, there is a data set, and then is a zeroth folder, and there is a multiple images are stored, collected. So in this way, the only faces are stored in the data set. So our data set has collected. Now we have to train our model. So for that, we are creating another program for training the model, that is facetrain.py. So now we are importing the list directory from the OS. For what reason we are importing? Because in order to access the folder or directory, we have to import the list directory function. So again, we are importing the cv2 function and numpy. So now we are using the lbph recognize create algorithm. What is this algorithm? It is a feature based face recognition algorithm. It will recognize the features in the face or a data set. For that reason, we are using a lbph face recognizer create algorithm. Now we are storing the current directory or current directory folder, dataset folder in the root directory variable. We are taking the features list, and then label list, and initializing the I variable. Now we have to access those files in the dataset folder. So for that, we are using the for loops. In the list directory, we are accessing the current directory dataset folder, and we are iterating the each folder in a dataset folder. So in a dataset folder, there is a three folders, that is 0, 1, 2. So in the first for loop, we are iterating the 0th folder, 1st folder, and second folder. And again in the second for loop, inner for loop, we are accessing the 0th folder, each images, that is each file. From each file, we are extracting the feature or appending that file into the features list and appending this folder name in the label list. So next we are printing the features and then labels. So now we have to train the model. For training the model, we are created the object for the lbph recognizer create algorithm. From that object, we are training our model. So we are passing features and then passing the labels. So next we are exporting the trained model. So our trained model name has to be is facemodel.yml. The extension of this model is .yml. So here is our extended model, trained model. So our model is trained. So now we have to predict the live image. So for that we are using this program. Now we are importing the CV2 library, and then we are importing this save to DB function from the API created by us. So later we can discuss this API model. So now and then we are importing the time. So access and now we are accessing the camera. Now this is the label which we are used. That means our trained folders dataset has three folders. So each folder specify the each person name. So we are declaring those labels. That means folder name to the each person name. We are creating the dictionary of the dataset we collected. So zeroth folder means that person's name is Manikiran, and the first folder name is Nandini, and second folder name is Guru Prasad folder. So we are creating dictionary for that. So next we are creating an object for the LBPH recognizer. So now we are reading the trained model. So we trained the model face model.yml. So we are importing that. Now cascade classifier where a cascade frontal face default is the face detection algorithm. We are importing that also. Now we are accessing. So this is reading the image from the camera. Now we are creating that captured image to gray color and detecting the face in the cam image, and now displaying the rectangle box on their face, and we are cropping the image for face only and resizing it to the 300 pixel because we are say trained the model of the same size, same image size, that is 300 pixels. So we are confirming or matching the same test input data for the trained model. So now predicting the face. So this is the main function. This is the main. So in the LBPH, we have the function that is predict. So it will predict the captured image, and it will give the ID and the confidence. Confidence is the accuracy rate. Lesser the confidence, that will that represents the more accuracy. So then we are printing the ID and the confidence. So if the confidence is less than 45, the names of ID means the folder name. It will return the folder name. That is, if the person is 0th ID, that person name is Manikiran. So we are appending that name of the ID in the name variable. Else, if the person is not trained, so that name should be unknown. Now the prediction, we are printing the predicted face name. Now, if the person is predicted, that person name should be displayed on the window. So for that, we are using the put text function. So we are using the put text function. For that, we have to specify the frame. What is the frame? Frame means frame means we are detected image. Detected image is stored in the frame. So we are passing that parameter and the name which is predicted person's name, and the position we are specifying that 50 comma 50, and the font is font hashtag simplex, and the font scale is the one, and the color is green color we are, and the thickness is 2. Now we are showing that face image. So that is the face recognition is the window title. And if the name is not unknown, that means if the person name is predicted, then that the person name should be stored in the database. That person's name should be have to be saved in the database. So for that we are using this save to DB function, calling the function. So where it is present save to DB. So if we want to store the details in the database, we are using the PHP. So from PHP we can access the MySQL database. So for accessing the PHP or connecting from Python to PHP, we are using one API. So we are creating an API for the construction of bridge from Python to PHP. So in this API demo, we are using the request. We are importing the requests library. So why we are using the request library? Because it is used for the HTTP requests. So in the URL, we are specifying the which PHP uh, folder or file has to be mentioned. So now we are creating an function that is save to DB. So in the prediction, it predicts the name of the person and calls the function and passes the parameter that is name. So from that, the parameter and the name as send it to this function. In this function, there is a dictionary, that is name is the key and this is the value. So for this key, then the name which is predicted, that will store, and it uh, sends the get request for the PHP and passes the parameter. So if this if this response status code is done, that means 200 is came, that the data from the PHP which is in the JSON form, it will stored in the data variable. So that data we are printing, that is print if status. If the status is done, it will print the status save and the message or success, saved or success, and the message is file as to be stored in the database. So if the connection or status code is not done or not yet connected, it will print fail to connect and it will returns the HTTP status code also. So this is how the Python gets the data sets and trains the model, and how it connects to PHP through an API. So this is regarding about the Python. Now we are discuss about the PHP section, that means server side scripting. So we are calling or sending request to the PHP from the API, that is Python side to PHP. Now we discuss. So we discuss the PHP programs. Once again, I'm opening the folder. Okay. Now this is the index.php. So once the request is came to request is made to this index.php, uh, it receives the request. Okay, so this function, this line specifies that the request is came from the Python side. So the API sends the request to this PHP. The name, this is the parameter which is sent when the request is made. So dollar name variable stores the name of the person, and this is the SQL query. So what is this SQL query? Select star from attendance where name equal to dollar name. If the person name is presented at the current date or not, this line specifies select star from attendance is the database table. Okay, so in that database table, name, if the person's name is already presented at the current date, so that the query is executing. So result is execute dollar $xql. Execute is a function. So where it is written in this file, the here look at this include once db.php. In the db.php, we return the generic SQL function, that is execute function. This is db.php. This is the generic function. So once the function is called, the connection variable, that is if we want to connect from PHP to MySQL, we have to use the function that is MySQL connect. So in the MySQL connect function, we have to specify the host and the username and the password and the database. So these four parameter has to be specified. So in our case, we are using the local host and the username is the root, and there is no password for the root, and our database name is school. So if the connection is made, if the connection is not made, it will die. The connection will die or ended. So we are simply not ending that function, that connection. So we have to specify what error has it has thrown. So for that we are using the MySQL error. It displays the what error it is showing. So if it connects, okay, if it connection is made, the query has to be executed. What is this query? That is $SQL. So if the query is not executed, it will show error. What error it has showing? Then it is return the executed result. Returns the executed result. So in the index.php, we are using the execute function. So we are passing this SQL query to this function. If the query is executed successfully, it returns the zeroth value, result value. So in the result value, we have to fetch the object. Okay. Okay. If the person is already presented at the current date, it will not execute this if block, because already that person has uh, present on that day. So again, we are not storing his or her data in the database table. So if the person is present, the else block will be executed. In the else block, what is this? This is the variable, and this is the JSON. What is this? This is the JSON block. It will, why we are using the JSON block? In the PHP side, if we want to write the key value pair, we are, for that reason, we are using JSON. Here, status is the key, and already name exists in the, is the value. So in the status, it returns the already name exists in edit and the message not saved to DB. This response will sends to the Python where the API is requested for the PHP. So it returns to the front end. So if the person is not presented at the current date, this if block will be executed. What is this is said? If the if this variable has a value as or it returns any true value, it executes this block. If the person's data is not present in the database, this SQL query will be executed. What is this? If the person is not presented, we have to insert that person's details. That means that person name has to be stored in the database. So what is our query is insert into what is our database table name, that is attendance. So in the attendance table we have the four attributes, that is ID, name, a date and date time. ID is the primary key and it is auto incremented, so we do not have we don't have to specify this that ID attribute in this. So we are simply saving the only name and date and time. So what are the values? The name which is passed by the API from the Python side to PHP, that name has to be stored, and the current date and the current time. So now we are calling the execute function. Execute function is the generic function which we have to which we return for the execute our SQL query. Then so now we are sending this response JSON to the API, that is Python API which we created. So what is the status, that is success, and what is the message it has to be written, that is name, which person's record has got saved successfully. Now the database stored the details of the person or student in the attendance table. Now we have there is the admin or lecture or principal has to be monitored at the server side on their website on the web. So for that we are creating another PHP, that is display attend. In this we are using the HTML, CSS and PHP and then Ajax. Why we are using the Ajax? If the one student came in front of the camera, the attendance stored database attendance of that person is stored in the database. So we have to refresh again and again to display the database details. So in order to run automatically run the server automatically from themselves, so we are using the Ajax. So this is the HTML document for the displaying the output or retrieving the records from the database to monitor. Next, fetch attendance. So this is main part. So fetching the attendance. from the database. So include once db.php. Why you are including this? There is a generic function which we return in the db.php, that is execute. So what is our query is select star from attendance order by id descending order. So this query says that from the attendance table, from the id which is has to be order in the descending order. So we are displaying the output in the descending order. That means today's today's date, and then previous date, and then another previous date records. So for that we are including this query and executing the query. So now we are fetching the object from the executed query. So first row will be in the ID, name, a date, and the a time. So this is the while loop. The number of records which is present in the database, all that data will be present in this shown in the web page. Now I am showing the sample. So what is our so so first we have to start our server and MySQL. So I am running the localhost where our file PHP file is present. So I'm executing this. So this is how the server side, the lecture has our principal weaving the monitoring system on their server or on their system. So this is the descending order and the latest date. This is the current date and this is the previous date and the day before that day. So this is the output. Thank you.